Good morning. My name is Julia Johnson, and I have been part of the garden for all of those 18 years in some form or fashion as being part of the St. Luke's community. And it's great to be here today as we and the entire city kick off what we hope, as Beth said, will be a championship season for the Colts. And thinking about what does a championship season look like? Because today, this weekend, 32 NFL teams will begin the journey from now until the first Sunday in February to try to be one of the final two teams in the Super Bowl. Well, we saw Peyton get off to a good start with that in Denver out in Colorado, where Linda is finishing her vacation, and we know they're on chart for that championship season. And those two teams, when they get there in February, they get to wave the banner and said, we had a championship season. Well, what about the other 30 teams? Nearly 1,600 players, all their coaches, all their staffs, all their offices. What did they do for those 5 months? What would their season be called? What are the qualities and the characteristics of a champion? What are the characteristics of a champion in our life? If today is our season opener for the next 5 months, what will it look like? Well, one of the things that I learned by having a kicker in my family was that when a field goal is going to be good or bad, it's not always the kicker that should get the fame or the blame. That the long snapper and the holder are very important in the outcome of the kick. And in fact, they're having to make adjustments and pay attention to what's going on, even in those few seconds while the kicker is already in motion doing what the kicker does, which I understand is just like muscle memory. You do the same thing every time. The way the threesome works together determines the outcome of the kick. Yet we all know it will be the kicker in the interview or getting the blame or the fame. And we frequently see a local quarterback from the NFL talking about how their line protected them or what a great job their receivers did. And we've heard the stories of quarterbacks taking their offensive line out to lavish dinners or buying them gifts because the quarterback seems to get the message that they need, the line. Well, we all know that in those Super Bowl games, the long snapper and the kicker and the holder would all get a Super Bowl ring, but as we said, only one of them would get the interview. Some of you may have heard the story of the Colts long snapper, Matt Overton. Matt Overton is relatively an unknown. In fact, I was hoping to wear his jersey today, but I went to the Colts Pro Shop and they said, no one's ever asked for a Matt Overton jersey. So I did the Walmart special instead. But he's a young man that some people are calling the modern day Rudy. 5 years of his life determined to become a long snapper for an NFL team. Cut by 2 teams in the preseason. Just about ready to give up, keeping going to those camps where recruiters look at you. And one of his mentors, another person struggling with a background that couldn't make it, they all encouraged each other, and he went to one more camp in Arizona where the Colts recruiter took notice of him. And this is Matt Overton's second season in the NFL starting today. Where does that determination and commitment and follow through, how does that add to a championship season? What role are we so committed to that we would give up 5 years and 2 failures and multiple things telling us we shouldn't do something to keep on doing it? We see it around us all the time in parents working jobs that may be hard and laborious to make sure their children have a better future. We see people committed to risking their lives in public service as policemen, firemen, military, so that other people may have a better life. Well, recently, a school clerk named Antoinette Tuff in Georgia went the extra mile and did something that wasn't in her job description at all, of talking down a gunman intent to do harm, kept him in conversation for nearly a half an hour, talking to him with care and empathy about how he didn't want to take this path today. I'm sure there's not a parent or administrator or teacher in that school that doesn't think the front office job was the most significant one on that day. Many of our personal attempts or efforts to have a successful or meaningful life need the long snapper or the holder or the front office clerk or someone helping us build up to meet our dreams or our life goals. Yet frequently we sometimes forget those people on our team. Yet we all are on a team, whether it's a sports team or a cast or a staff or a work project team or a band or a choral group or a family or a neighborhood or maybe the team of humanity. We all have a role, and every role is significant. In fact, what would happen to the traditional firework program on the 4th of July to the music of the 1812 overture if the cymbal player were missing? A quote I recently read, and it was poignant to me because it seems to speak to our society where individuals are lifted up, and it's given credit to being from a Navy SEAL team, saying individuals play the game, but teams beat the odds. How do the odds of our life being meaningful, successful, championship-like increase when we pay attention to our teammates, whatever form they might take? Tony Dungy was quoted as saying, "Success is all about leadership, and good leadership is all about making the lives of your team members or workers better." As I reflected on this, I thought, isn't that interesting? It doesn't say success is about everyone following the leader. It didn't say that leadership is about getting everybody to get in the same line and do the same thing the same way. It's about the lives of the members of that team. Each one of us brings something and some perspective to every situation we find ourselves in, whether in our families or communities. Today's scripture message, which came from the book of Thessalonians, was picked for a reason. This piece of advice was written to them. They were a group of people that had tons of differences, different religious beliefs trying to come together, different backgrounds, trying to build a community together. And here was the advice they were given. "So speak encouraging words to one another. Build up hope, so you'll all be together in this. No one left out, no one left behind." Now, I know you're already doing this, but keep on doing it. And now, friends, we ask that you honor the leaders who work so hard for you, who've been given the responsibility of urging you and guiding you along in your obedience. Overwhelm them with appreciation and love. Our counsel is that you warn the freeloaders to get a move on, gently encourage the stragglers, and reach out for the exhausted, pulling them to their feet. Be patient with each person, attentive to individual needs, and be careful that when you get on each other's nerves, that you don't snap at each other. Look for the best in each other, and always do your best to bring it out. Well, I think this might be the best piece of advice that could be given in any NFL locker room today, or the best description of what a championship life, season, or community might look like. I'd need a little bit of work on the don't snap at each other kind of thing in my season, but I know that I would sign up to be part of any community or any team or any effort where looking for the best in each other and doing our best to bring it out was the main focus. Well, there are students, football players, managers, moms, dads, directors, clerks, doctors, nurses, patients, taxi drivers, street workers, everywhere, every role or position in our life looking for a best outcome today. So where and when are we willing to take the role that never will get the interview? When and where are we willing to be the long snapper or the holder while the kicker gets the fame? When and where are we willing on our teams to help the exhausted to their feet when it might be easier to blame them or shame them for falling down in the first place? One of the reasons that the story of Rudy and Matt Overton's story of the modern day Rudy speak to all of us is because we can see ourselves in some role in this story. And we know that Rudy or Matt Overton, all alone, without their teammates, would have had a completely different outcome.